they should expect fun. That for me is huge,
Yeah.
because if you do what you don't love, then you may not go very far with it. We model what we want our children to be. Well, what we call here in Africa Ubuntu. It's about
Oh, I've heard this word before.
it's about I am because we are, and there is no better way to live your life. You're living in a world that is interconnected. It takes the pressure out of the
Yeah.
teacher.
Yeah.
Because we talk about sharing the power. We are talking about empowering our children. When
Mm.
I brought in positive discipline in my classroom, the children just took it and ran with it. I would go to class and I would find they've solved their own problems.
Today's guest on my YouTube channel is a teacher and a parent educator whom I met through the Positive Discipline Association, I think last year in autumn. And we're going to talk about how this positive discipline and the Adlerian way to being in the world is being practiced in schools by teachers. So, Robert, would you like to introduce yourself and maybe share where you're from and what got you interested, and maybe one aspect that you like most about positive discipline?
Oh my God, those are so many questions. Let me see.
Yes, see what comes up.
My name is Robert Omwa, just as Annette has said. I am a Kenyan, proudly Kenyan. I am a, an how do I go about this? Now you say that we are recording. Teachers, parent educator,
Yes.
positive discipline parent educator, and positive discipline in the classroom educator. I hope I got it right. And I have a very interesting journey with positive discipline, because just before COVID, I met positive discipline. And I mentioned initially that I'm a teacher in Kenya,
Mhm.
and I'm a teacher who looks out for the rights of children,
Mhm.
and I coordinate a national organization called Beacon Teachers Africa. So
Mhm.
these are a group of teachers who um, who look out for the rights of children in terms of defending their rights, in terms of sensitizing children and even teachers to ensure that children are safe from child labor, from gender-based violence, from physical abuse, sexual abuse, and so on
Mhm.
and so forth. So initially, we used to go to schools and tell them, hey guys, it's not right to beat children. And they would ask us, we know it's not right.
Mhm.
And it's also in the Kenyan law that we are not supposed to beat children. But what do you want us to do? And this question always left me empty. I was like, am I really supposed to do this? Because if I am here telling teachers that you're not supposed to beat students,
Mhm.
then what are they supposed to do?
Mhm.
So, Annette, this is what led me to do some online search
Mhm.
on tools that could be used by teachers to support children in case the teacher was not willing to beat the children, because it is widely practiced here in Kenya.
Mhm.
And I met Positive Discipline, an organization that is run by one Carol Dores. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, in the US. And I sent her an email and I told her, hi, I have gone through your website. I love everything I'm seeing there. Can you please share more of these tools? And we started that relationship, and she told me, I'll connect you to Positive Discipline Association, which Positive Discipline of Connecticut was affiliated to. And
Uh-huh.
that's how I got to join Positive Discipline. During COVID, I was trained as a positive discipline educator and a positive in the classroom, and a positive discipline parent educator. And that's how the journey has been. And here we are now with Annette. It has just gotten better and better and
Mm.
better. It has changed my family.
Wow.
It saved me during COVID. I don't know what I would have done with my children at home, and I didn't have these skills. And up to now we have escalated them to schools, we've escalated them to more homes, and we are just expanding and expanding the ripples now, you know.
I love it. So before we take a deeper dive into what works in schools, you're a parent educator, and I know you've got at least one child. What do you like about it that works for you at home with the family? And you said changed your family life, got you through COVID.
I have three kids,
Great.
Annette.
Mm-hmm.
My firstborn is a 14-year-old boy. And then we have Esther. My firstborn is called Silas. Then Esther is 9, a beautiful girl called Esther. Then we have Jeremiah, the funniest in the house, is around 7, 6.
Yeah.
Um, why am I saying that positive discipline has saved me in the family? There are so many things, but I think one that I can mention, Annette, is
Mhm.
is 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 uh, um, family meeting. Oh my God, family meeting has been the bomb for me because I get to sit down. We do it once a week. I know we should do it more often, but we do it once a week, and every session has just been amazing. And I think my children really enjoy a session called appreciation.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, part of it, because we get to soul search and see, oh, what did mom do right this week? What did dad do right this week?
Mm.
Sometimes we cruise through life and we don't appreciate each other. But I think for me, that has really help us to appreciate the little things that happen in our family. It has also helped us to solve problems, because problems will always be there.
Mm.
And I have seen us manage our TV time, because for me that's a real issue. We've managed TV. We've managed to schedule time for homework, and just brought some sanity. For me, I have never been a parent before. I know
Yeah.
your viewers have never been parents before, now they are parents. So, and there is
Mm.
no parenting college,
Yeah.
So like we normally learn on the job, and I think I would 1,000 times recommend positive discipline, because it just helps the parent go through the murky waters of parenting.
Yeah. And especially, Robert, what you said, this, what teachers say, but if we know what we shouldn't do, but what should we do instead? And
Mhm.
the appreciation part, right, which obviously extends to the classroom as well,
Yeah.
like that is one of the most powerful things, right, to help to really reach the heart and create that belonging in the family unit. And for years, I don't know about you, but we for years only did appreciations at a family meeting to kind of build the connection, before we ever brought problems in. And our children were probably younger as well. So I think to keep it simple at the start is probably good as well, isn't it? Because
Yeah, yeah. The appreciation really does it for me. The other bits of problem solving may be a little bit challenging, as you're saying, for
yeah,
the young ones. But you lose nothing trying it, because actually the young ones have challenges
yeah.
coming from the older ones. So if they can participate
Mhm.
uh, in bringing solutions to some of these challenges, then it's really empowering. I remember my last born saying, Dad, we need to have a family meeting. And each
Oh, I
time
love
he
it.
wants a family meeting, he has a problem with his elder brother, and his
Yes.
elder brother, oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm in problems here. So it's
Okay.
so still to see
Yeah.
the young one say that
Mm.
we need to have a family meeting. And my second born daughter also really mesmerized me when she said, I want us to modify our family meeting, and I want us to have a section of it where we have a question, and this is how she put it. She said, let us have a section in the process of the meeting where we have people ask questions that disturb their mind. That's how she put it. And I think that was huge for me, because as somebody growing up, she has a lot of questions, and maybe I'm busy and the mom is busy, and she's like, where will I get these people to ask all my questions?
Yeah.
So they normally come to the meeting with a question that is really troubling them. And I was like, this is a really,
Love it.
children are modifying
Yeah.
a family meeting. And I think I need to share this with Positive
You
Discipline
do?
Association.
That needs to go into the manual, Robert. That is powerful,
Yeah,
right?
that was so powerful for me. I
Wow.
need to engage with maybe Kelly, and so that we
Yes.
see how it can be populated. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So to bring this into what we want to talk about today, you know, so the positive discipline is based on the teachings of Alfred Adler, and I always have a printout here of Alfred Adler, who was from Vienna and started the field of psychiatry alongside Freud, really. What about Adler's method do you appreciate so much, you know, something that does work in the classroom?
I think for me, Adler is too much.
Okay,
That is
honest
Kenyan.
answer, yeah.
That is just out of the world,
Mm,
because everything. I'm a Christian, and I think we've shared this with you. Looking at Adler's wisdom, you realize that most of them really resonate with Christianity for
mhm,
me. And when he talks about things like holism, when he talks about um, what we would call self-esteem,
mhm,
how the picture of ourselves really affect who we become, when he talks about how our childhood affects how we see ourselves in adulthood. And it's
mm,
very easy with modern education for us to just look at ourselves as who we are today,
yeah.
and forget that the experiences that we went through as children, and we may not have been in charge of that, Annette, but
Mm,
now we are parents, now we are teachers,
mm,
we are in a good state to mold the future generation. So that tenet of Adler that talks of our past experiences affecting how we see ourselves today always reminds me and gives me a nudge that we need to be alive, that when we are dealing with children, we are not just dealing with the problems of today, but we are creating future strong people. And we normally say that hurt people hurt. And I want to mention that as a teacher, I went to a teacher's training college, and I was never trained. I was told, when you go to school, don't beat kids.
mm,
But I was never told what I'm supposed to do as a teacher. And
mm,
and and I want to shock you that immediately I went to school. When I started teaching, I started beating kids. I
mm,
never liked it, but I did it. And why did I do it? It's
mm,
because that's how I was taught. So I
yeah.
was beaten by my teachers. I became a teacher. I beat, but I always went home so exhausted.
Yeah.
I hated it. But when I met Positive Discipline, boy, I was like, I'm not doing that again.
Mm.
And that's the message that now I'm preaching in Kenya with my colleagues, that it's doable. Children can learn without the cane, as you say.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're in our where we meet, you know, online with other fellow educators, we will be speaking this afternoon about what, and I am not a Christian. This is, you know, it works. I always call it a worldwide approach. It works despite any religion, whether you are or not. And but our global mentor, you know, she shared with me, which was a new thing for me, that it says in the Bible, spare the rod and spoil the child. And this is this mistaken belief that I I don't know too much and I won't go too much into it, but it comes back to this. But if we don't do that, and where I am in Europe, my generation was still beaten in school by teachers, but now it's moved to reward and punishment, so, or consequences, you know. So what we have here, and you can probably relate to this, is so what happened here in an Irish classroom last week is the children didn't finish their work, so they were not allowed to go out into fresh air for the break that they are allowed to normally, you know. So these what I refer to as consequences and punishment. And so to come back to that question that you were asked, if we are no longer punishing or where you are beating children, what do we do now? What is kind of a first thing that you would love to share with teachers, you know, why that does work? Why you
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that question. But as you are talking, Annette,
Mhm.
I didn't mention to your viewers that I came back into Kenya after being at Sussex University
Okay,
for
yes.
1.5 years. I was doing my master's there, and one of my very amazing professors was Dr. Professor Murray Dunn, who is an Irish, and we were having a lot of conversation about decolonizing education, and our Kenyan education is hugely affected by the British
Yes.
imperialism, colonialism,
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful thing. And for me, I think it's very encouraging uh, to know that the situation back in Britain or back in England or in the UK is changing. And it has changed because some of my professors narrated to me how they were beaten in school. So that normally gives me a lot of hope over here, because you also face a lot of opposition because teachers feel we are spoiling kids.
Mhm.
But this modern education had originated from the West, but they
Mhm.
privileged caning, but today things have changed. So I would say that even that incident that you've mentioned of children being denied like the basic right of fresh air, those are still, I think, are legacies of colonization, and we need to continue having these conversations. But I'm very, very happy because within the Adlerian family, we have such conversations with a lot of love, with a lot of open arms, and this is really, really encouraging. Now, on to your question, where you are asking when teachers ask us, what do we do? And now that we have positive discipline, how do we connect with these teachers? Um, we just share the message of love with them. We share the message of love, and that we don't want our parents and our teachers to forget. But over my research, I also learned that in Africa, love can still be expressed in a different way. So, Annette, as I'm doing all this, I don't want to lose the fact that there is also contextualization. I'm not saying that it's one size fit all. I know the context in Ireland is different. I know the parents here can still beat their children, but they still love their children. A
Mhm.
child who is highly beaten can still hug the mom and say, she beats me because she loves me.
Yeah.
So as much as I'm being cautious not to look like somebody who is copy pasting, I have sessions, like I have every Tuesday I go to a local radio station, and we just break them piece by piece, and we tell them that this will not work overnight, because
Mhm.
parents have a lot of economic, social pressures, and they may just want to use methods that uh, stop the misbehavior on the spot. But remember, we are raising strong people for the future. So I tell them positive discipline takes time. It needs a lot of patience.
Mhm.
Uh, and by using my own example, I've had an amazing time as a teacher when I started using positive discipline.
Mhm.
I got got very beautiful reviews from the students I'm working with. So I'm happier now as a teacher who is not caning kids. So I highly want to use my example, but being that positive discipline is also experiential in nature makes it so beautiful. So that when I get an opportunity to train or to talk with parents or teachers, then we get to role model instances, and
Yeah.
actually they get to see the learning by themselves, and they're like, aha, so this is how our children feel, this is what they're deciding about the situation.
Yeah.
So the nature of the training is really, really helpful, Annette.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And you know, this what you just mentioned, Robert, it brings me back to what kind of sparked that idea to even connect with you and have a conversation, you know. So I just want to share something about in our global educator meetings, you know, sometimes, Robert, you sit there because in the dark, because there might be a blackout in Kenya, you know, and I have a candle burning here. So Robert sits there, and all we see is your light and your face. Both are lights in the dark, you know. And when I saw that, I think it was before Christmas, the week before, I had such an epiphany, and I just want to share this again, and I shared it already with you, but for the viewer, that every light matters, you know, every teacher, every parent, and everyone who tries to make a difference matters. And what I realized in that moment with your candle was that, okay, there was a lot of darkness in the room. You could say 99% was dark, but all that you look at is the candle. You know, my room was dark. And funnily enough, when I started up my Zoom today, my screen wouldn't come on. It was just dark, you know. So what I did is I just shut down the whole system, right? First try thing you do, you reboot, and maybe that's what is needed, you know, a bit of a reboot. And let's maybe ignore all the beliefs we come into this with and see what we can plant, what new seeds can be planted. So yeah, that leads into my next question, which is if a teacher would be interested, you know, in maybe training or taking part in the classroom education training, what can they expect? Maybe one or two of your examples. And I just want to share that last September I took part in it as well. Not that I'm a teacher who is with children, but I'm really interested in sharing this here with teachers in Ireland who are interested. And one more thing before I let you answer is that the idea, you know, from Rudolf Dreikos was that this is practiced at home and in the classroom. And one parent who said in a parenting course in front of me a few years ago, he said, well, it's all well and good if we don't reward children and we don't punish them, but then we send them into the world and they are in these systems. So then they're just confused, aren't they? And that's where I want to bring that one candle, you know, to the classroom. So what can teachers expect, you know, in that training?
Wow. First, I want to commend the fact that you feel the burden to move in and work with teachers. I want to say it's really an experience that is rewarding to see teachers having this aha moment and going back to their schools and practicing positive discipline. I would tell you that you have my full support, Annette,
Oh,
and
thank you.
go do it.
Yeah.
What should teachers expect? Teachers should expect fun. Oh my God, positive discipline is fun. I remember the last training I had in November.
Yeah.
We had fun with the training, and the day just passed by. We were shocked. The day was ending. All the tools that I had, because it was just a 1 day training, all the tools that I had planned to share with the teachers, we could not even share all of them. But the teachers couldn't wait to go And schools were closed in November. So most of them were like, don't worry about us. We're going to start with this with our children. And I was like, oh, geez, this is so encouraging. So what should teachers expect? They should expect fun. That for me is huge,
Yeah.
because if you do what you don't love, then you may not go very far with it. But secondly, this is not just for your classroom.
Mm.
This will be handy for
Yeah.
your children back at home. And
Mm.
as if that is not enough, it even works for your spouse.
Yes, it does, right? Keeping the joy in relationships is part of it.
And for your relationships generally, even in the school, how you work with colleagues,
Colleagues.
there's a way that positive discipline just opens, and Adlerian principles just open your eyes to things that we take for granted,
Mm.
and it's just our life really. It's
Mm.
just what we call here in Africa Ubuntu. It's about
Oh, I've heard this word before.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about I am because we are, and there is no better way to live your life, knowing that you're living in a world that is interconnected. Because I think what is really making life so difficult is the fact that we want to live life in silos, like we are islands, and this
Mm.
brings more friction. So positive discipline is more community. Positive discipline is more, I love it when we say in positive discipline that mistakes are opportunities to learn. Oh, that's so huge for me. And then we will talk about things like the courage to be imperfect.
Mm.
That really removes the veil, and it removes the masks that we
Mm.
teachers, parents sometimes walk with, trying to meet other people's expectations. Just the courage to be imperfect, because
Yeah.
we are human. And for me, those and many other
Yeah.
tools, we have two tools which parents and teachers will be exposed to. It just makes you so empowered and ready to face the world and the challenges that it comes with it.
Yeah. I would love to share something, Robert, and maybe you can inspire teachers, so something happened also in an Irish classroom, where a teacher had said, according to the teacher, that homework was given the week before. This is a very practical example. And then the week later, the teacher wanted to see the homework, and the class of 24 students didn't have that homework done. So the class, each student got a note into their diary or whatever you call it, and 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 the students insisted the homework wasn't given, and the teacher insisted the homework was given, so it was the teacher's word against the students, and all had to get the note signed by the parents. And in our world of positive discipline, I don't know who's at fault. I just heard this, that this happened. So what I'm hearing is that the teacher sometimes can believe I can never show to make a mistake, right? This is also, and parents may believe that too. I would lose maybe my authority, or they will never respect me again. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about this, how this really as a teacher works in the classroom. And our mentor Deborah had these beautiful things where she almost as a teacher did a dance and sang, I made a mistake, I made a mistake, I'm going to link her video here in this clip if anybody's interested, how powerful it can be. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's important. It's interesting you're mentioning that, because my society is highly patriarchal,
Mhm.
more than your society. So it's something that is really shuddering and scary for parents and for teachers when I tell them that sometimes you need to apologize to your students,
Mm.
or to your child when you made a mistake, they're like, oh, hell no, how do you apologize to your child?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we've got to know that we model what we want our children to be. And if we don't model the kind of relationship that we want them to develop with their children and with other people they're working with, then it's going to be a cycle of tension and a cycle of issues that can be handled just by how we parent. So I would say that positive discipline does not even have a hole in the bucket, if I say, because classroom meetings are still very powerful. For me, they eliminate almost 60% of the problems that we have, both in family and in classrooms, because you give authority to the children. As much as it is scary, we will have to decide whether we want to have an autocratic classroom or we want to have a democratic classroom.
Yes.
We cannot have autocratic classrooms. We cannot have autocratic families, because the world is a democracy today. As much as we have countries that have political problems, but they still have a form of democracy.
Yeah.
So for us to send the right messages to our children, if we are a democracy, then democracy basically means sharing the power. So we are moving from what Deb, that you've just referred to, explained so well. We are moving from the vertical, top-down relationship to horizontal relationship. And children of today, as they call it, are not the same children 10 years ago. They have new experiences, they have new challenges, they are grappling with AI and media and social media. So we cannot use the methods that our grandfathers used and think that we will succeed with this generation. If we share power, then we will not have suspicion, and we will solve problems together. And children are very creative. Children can come up with ingenious solutions to what we see as challenges. So let's embrace classroom meeting, let's embrace family meetings, and there are more tools that we may not be able to share now, something like agreements. Like in the classroom, there is that tension about the homework. What if they have an agreement, which is one of the 52 tools of positive discipline? And they strike an agreement that are we able to do this homework? What kind of support do you need as students for you to do this work? And you agree, and by what time? Because I know as teachers, we are under pressure from the supervisors, from parents, and sometimes we may even give work that is unrealistic. So if the students say, we can do this work, but if you gave us this 30 minutes of your class, or if you gave us this amount of time, and then we get a win-win instead of top-down where we impose children.
I love that. I love that. And I think we might have, I would love if the viewer, who watches this would maybe comment below what questions came up from listening. And let's go in the theme with your daughter, Esther, is it? And she's only, what, 9 years old. I absolutely love this. I really think they're here to change the world and show us how it's done. By what a beautiful suggestion to ask questions. And I think when there is a conversation, there's always more questions. So we could continue this conversation some other time, with questions that come about how to go about certain challenges for teachers. And in closing, I want to ask you this question, and I don't know what it's like in Kenya, but what I'm observing and hearing from friends and also teachers in the schools where my children are, is that there are so many trainings that teachers need to attend, because curriculums are changing. We know that students have changed, and this whole topic of neurodiversity, which I believe is big everywhere in the world. So there are so many trainings and staff trainings teachers need to attend. I was in the early classroom educators meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I heard this beautiful analogy, where sometimes what is PD? A lot of people would ask, or maybe teachers, why would I need this on top of everything else? There's so much on my plate. And what this mentor shared, I probably you have heard this, Robert, is that it's not another thing on top of your plate. PD is the plate. PD meaning positive discipline. I love that. So anyone who thinks that, oh, yet another thing, and what else? Why would I need to bother? What would you say to that teacher, as a kind of final words on why this does work?
Yeah, I would love to reiterate what you've said,
Mm,
that PD is not another kind of
mm,
training that is coming in. PD is actually the in thing.
mm,
PD is what all these other training will build on. So I want to say that uh, you will just get to know the taste of the pudding. It's in the eating, I would say.
mm.
It's basically in the eating. It's
Mm.
fun, it's liberating for the teacher. um I don't know what I would say, but it takes the pressure out of the
Yeah,
teacher.
yeah.
It Because we talk about sharing the power, we are talking about empowering our children. And if I use my own example, Annette, when
Mm.
I brought in positive discipline in my classroom, the children just took it and ran with it, and my work became very easy. I would go to class and I would find they've solved their own problems.
Oh my God,
I
brilliant.
was like, I
That's
was
brilliant.
like, and one day they told me, teacher, we've never experienced this. And I'm talking about students who are in Kenya, we would call it grade 12. These are students who are almost completing high school. And they were like, we've never experienced this before. We request that you find a way of just escalating this to other classrooms, because they were looking at it as an urgent thing, like their friends are missing out on this.
Oh, wow. Oh, but that's so encouraging. That's amazing.
Yeah, so I think just get into it and see how it goes, really.
Wow, that's beautiful. The students want that, right? And one of the big things I just opened, so I've got two books, one by Rudolf Dreikurs. I love the title, Maintaining Sanity in the Classroom. I don't know if you've not come across this one. And this one is Positive Discipline, the classroom book. And I just opened it. I love just taking one of the books from the series and opening it on a random page. And it says exactly that of what so many, and I love talking to students and children about that, so what's school life like? And just asking curiosity question when I come across a child. And a lot of them share the same, there. And I opened it on exactly this page. It says there's a lot of kind of demanding respect, but not giving it. And I love that about positive discipline. It shows first what we want from the child, we need to give that. And that was my main takeaway from the classroom training. To how can children know to tell the truth or apologize for mistakes? How do they know, to respect someone unless it's role model, like you beautifully said earlier, Robert?
It's role modeling,
Yeah.
and positive discipline is fit long term.
Hmm.
It's not like putting out the fires, which most parents and most teachers are doing,
Yeah.
but discipline guarantees you uh powerful results long term. But it may take time,
Yeah.
but time, maybe after a school term or so,
Yeah.
when now students take responsibility of their classroom. I think that is every teacher's prayer, and that would be an answered prayer for any teacher, just to have children take up their class with the class roles, with solutions to challenges, and basically academics will be sorted, because I know
Yeah.
that's the elephant in the room. But
Yeah.
when we have all these other issues sorted, academics will definitely get sorted.
Absolutely. I've got a cat who wants to be let out, so I'm going to close it by just asking you if teachers, or parents wanted to reach out to you, would you be willing to leave me your details, and I'll put maybe an email address or a number below our video here?
Yeah. Any of your viewers who wants to reach out,
Yes.
I'm gladly willing to have a chat with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, my phone number, my email, and I also run a blog where I did a story, and the response from the students I work with. I think this would also be very encouraging to someone who is saying, do I really need positive discipline or not? So I'll also share that, Annette.
Brilliant, brilliant. I'm going to take all these details and put them underneath the video. And also, I'm going to put the place where I met you, Positive Discipline Association, who continuously throughout the year offers trainings for parents and for classroom educators, to take this training. So thank you so much for your time, Robert. I have a feeling we will do this again, a whole teacher series,
Definitely.
maybe, who knows?
We
There,
need to do this again. It was nice
yeah,
chatting with you, and I love the community you're building on YouTube, and I'm one of your loyal subscribers, and I would invite your any viewer, anybody who's viewing this video, please like, please subscribe, so that the video can reach more teachers and more parents, can create a peaceful and a happy world. Thank you so much, Anna.
brilliant. Thank you very much.